I gotta tell y'all where this came from. You see, a few years ago, during that 1 to 2 week period leading up to Mother's Day, there was that usual yearly celebration of commercials on both TV and radio that were touting various gifts for Mom that were all guaranteed to be just the perfect Mother's Day gift. I remember there was something that Sean Hannity was selling called Sherry's Berries. And I think what they are is strawberries dipped in various different flavors of chocolate and little white creamy things on them. And, you know, not to offend anybody, but I've only known one Sherry in my life. And all I've really got to say is that, well, if she's got any berries left, you know, maybe you'd be better off just to leave them there on the vine, if you know what I'm saying. So instead of buying my mom Sherry's Berries, I figured, well, maybe I'll write a song for her for Mother's Day. And like all songs, it started out as one thing, and then it kind of changed, and then it kind of changed again, and it's still for my mother, and it's still for Mother's Day, but it kind of changed a little bit to at least the setting changed. It's sort of maybe a kid that, you know, goes off to boarding school. I grew up, I went to the public schools right down the street, but if I had been sent off to boarding school, that's the luxury of being a writer, I think. We had one phone on that little table there in the hall. You had to stand up to talk on it. We had a big white refrigerator with a curved front door and two enormous silver handles. And we had one TV set. Actually, we had the first color TV set on our block. Right after those boys from Motorola made that thing affordable for the working family. I remember everybody in the neighborhood came to see it. The first thing I remember seeing on that color TV was the Walt Disney Show. But you know, my sister might remember this. Our color TV wasn't exactly right. There was something wrong with it. Oh, it got color. Yeah, it had color. But for some reason, everything on there was just a different shade of green. It was just like black and white, where everything was a shade of gray. But everything was just a shade of green. Made everybody from Hollywood look like they were suffering from some form of the bubonic plague. but everybody in the neighborhood came over anyway to see it. And we had a fenced-in backyard and a German Shepherd dog named Lady. And we had neighbors. And all of their first names began with either Mr. or Mrs. And we had Thompson Park right down the street. It's where you got your first scraped knee. It's where you hit your first home run. It's where you scored your first touchdown. And a little later on, it's where you got your first kiss. And we went to school, and we said the Pledge of Allegiance every morning with liberty and justice for everybody. And every Friday afternoon, this lady, the stamp lady, well, she would come by and you'd give her a quarter or two. Episcopalian kids always had a dollar bill. But you'd give her that money and you'd buy those stamps and you'd paste them in that book. And when that book was full, well, you'd give it to the stamp lady and you'd trade it in for a United States government defense savings bond. And when that thing matured after 12 years, well, you used to find that you had earned $25 on your $18.75 investment. And that taught you something. Yeah, that taught you something. But it wasn't about money. No, it didn't teach you about money. No, the lesson that you learned was best explained by that young man from Massachusetts asking not what his country was going to do for him, but what he could. Well, you know the rest. I think many people in our country have forgotten about that lesson. Yeah. But I remember. Yeah, I remember. And I remember that cold, gray Friday afternoon in November. When that man from that window there in Dallas, Texas, somehow made those savings bonds seem like they were worth so much more than what they had cost. And I remember that lady. I remember that lady with that pretty little pillbox hat. Trying to climb out onto the back of that limousine. And I remember that she left her. I remember she left her roses sitting right there on that back seat of that car. Yeah, she did. And I remember that the stamp lady, didn't come. She didn't come that Friday. No, the stamp lady didn't come that day. Went to school, held my hand, brushed a tear, walked me in, said goodbye, and drove away. I never knew how hard she tried, hide her tears or why she cried, but I'll be home on Mother's Day. On Mother's Day. We had one phone in the hall. We stood to talk if someone called. Party line, watch what you say. We were first on our block, color screen. They came to watch a gift from Dad on Mother's Day. On Mother's Day. Every week, dollar bill, buy the stamps, books we'd fill, savings bonds filed away. Thought one day, cash 'em out, still there in the SNL, waiting for that rainy day. I recall second grade, a heart-shaped box to her I gave. She filled it up with hopes and dreams. In that box on her shelf, faded picture of myself. I looked inside, that's all there was.
on Mother's Day. Went to school, held my hand, brushed a tear, walked me in, said goodbye, and drove away. I never knew how hard she tried to hide her tears or why she cried. I'll be home on Mother's Day. I'll be home on Mother's Day. I'll be home on Mother's Day.
And so I wrote the song for my mother on Mother's Day, and I played it for her in front of a whole bunch of people, and I got done. And there was a tear in her eye. There was a tear in her eye. And I stepped down off that stage to give her a hug, and she looks at me. She looks right at me and she says, "You know, I always wanted to try some of those Sherry's berries."